If you're not happy in life and you want to figure out what can be done to improve your situation and to boost personal satisfaction with your career, family, and social interactions, then pay close attention. I'm going to describe to you a personal satisfaction assessment that I've done with clients in the past. We can do it right now with you, and it will help unlock that next step to get you to where you want to be. I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. Now, the personal satisfaction assessment that we're going to go through here is an exercise designed for you to extract key elements of, first, what creates satisfaction for you and what is necessary to move you to a higher level of satisfaction. Now, you might be listening and thinking, well, Justin, that is very selfish to look at my personal satisfaction over that of my career, over that of my family, over that of my personal and social life. And I would say to that is that you must live with yourself. No matter what happens, you are always going to see the world through your eyes. And if you're dissatisfied, if you're frustrated, if you are feeling down, then your world is going to be difficult. Now, it is possible for you to have a Pollyanna, everything is wonderful, everything is great, and not actually have an accurate representation of the world around you. So what I found is working with clients is that we do these assessments in writing on paper or in writing in some tangible form, and we look at not one aspect of your life. We don't look at two aspects of your life. We look at three aspects of your life together within a framework of tenets to come up with an action plan, because your family life could suck because your career life is too successful. All these hours at the office, all these demands in the workplace, it fills a satisfaction in your career. But when you're at home, everybody seems to be working against you. They don't know who you are. They're frustrated with who you are. They spend not realizing what your outer goals are to work this career hard for a couple years and then retire. Spend time with them later. You might have a social life that doesn't open doors to new career opportunities and may open doors to unfortunate family opportunities. This is a way for you to step away from your mental perspectives and your own seeing of the world and to assess each of these categories, family, social, and career, separately, and then map them together for a final score that you can measure, are we improving things? So for example, it's a 3-step process. I'll describe the process, and then I'll describe the tenets that we use to frame this process. Now, this can take a few days. It could take a month, but it's got to be done in a consistent manner. So step number 1 is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being outstanding, what would you rate your social, family, or business? Now, we do them individually. So the first question might be, what do you rate your career? And now maybe your career is going really good. You're making the money you want to make. You are being challenged. You have good benefits, and your career is 10. Okay, great. So the next question would be, what is the basis of your rating? And describe what's going well, what can be improved, and what would be ideal. Now, this is very interesting because I've had people say, hey, my career is a 10. My career is a 10. I'm the top of the league. I've earned more money than I've ever earned before. I have responsibilities that I enjoy. It's a challenging job. And I say, great. What's the basis of your rating? And the basis was completely delusional. They were like, oh, I make more money than anybody on my team. And I was like, well, that's okay, but your team isn't paying your bills. Do you make enough money to have a fully funded retirement account? And they're like, well, that's something we're working on. I said, wait a second. It doesn't matter how much you make related to other people. Are you satisfied with what you're making in relation to your own family? And he says, well, we're talking about career right now. See, the thing about this kind of assessment is that your career influences your family influences your career influences your social influences your family. It is a network of activity. And if you have massive dissatisfaction in any one area, it'll bleed over into others. And if you have oversatisfaction in one area, it could be impacting the others. So I said to him, I said, look, okay, you got better, you're rating your career high because you have a very high income, but based on where you live and your other goals and family and social side, and so social could be also lifestyle, are you meeting those goals? And they're like, oh, no, the career's awesome, the pay's awesome, but he's unable to maximize his retirement accounts. He's unable to fully fund insurance policies beyond the basics. So he's got insurance with work. Does he have enough insurance to make sure his family's taken care of for the long period of time? We went down the thing, what is the basis, what's working well? And so he listed out what's working well, a satisfaction, challenge, a high income. We wrote down, well, what can be improved? Well, he doesn't want to spend so many hours at the office. And then we started getting to the descriptions of what would be ideal, better balance, exciting opportunities where he can end cap a weekend. So he had to travel a lot. He wanted to be able to travel with his family coming with him and then end cap the weekend so his family and him can get together. So even though he's got to work during the week, his family can get together on the weekend and then they can fly back. So he's now getting exciting opportunities at a lower cost. He's boosting his score for family. He's boosting his score for social. That's what this exercise is about. Now, if you write this down in a narrative, you start expressing some of the hidden elements, and you might go back to step A and you might downgrade your rating. Maybe that career that you thought was through the roof because your friends and family tell you how fortunate you are and how lucky you are and how you don't want to disappoint your parents. Actually, when we get down to it, it is a not as good as you thought it was. Now, the last step, step C, is now we're going to list in a T diagram. So there's two columns. We're going to list your minimum expectations and what is not acceptable. So if you want to get to that next level, what is the minimum expectation you have of yourself, that you have of others, that you have of your environment? We're going to list those out, just bullet points. And then we're also going to say what's not acceptable. So if let's say you rated your career a 5 and you want to get that career to a 6 or to a 7 or to a 10. And you might say, look, I want to get it to a 10, but I'm not going to work extra hours. I'm not going to work weekends. See, that's what's not acceptable. I'm not going to work for a boss that demeans me and demand, constant fires. One of the things I hear from high income professionals is that they are under constant fires. So they'll work a big major project. It's very important. It's things are being escalated. And then when that project is done, there's another project that's already started that's it's just as much of a wreck. See, when you've got a team of people who make $100,000, $200,000 a year, you make the team as small as possible and you double up the folks. The business wants to squeeze as much out of you as possible. Well, if your expectation is that when you complete a major project, you're going to have a week of reprieve. You're going to have a week off. You're going to have some soft work rather than escalations and regulatory demands. You write it down. Now, what does these 3 steps do? First off, you're rating. The second, you're assessing, or you're building out your basis. And the third, you're setting up your criteria. Well, what does this do? What does it do? Well, as a personal satisfaction assessment, it not only measures your level of satisfaction, but it sets forward a framework to increase that level of satisfaction. Now, again, all of these elements are subjective. So what you describe as a 10, someone else might describe as a 1. So we're not trying to do a comparison between two people. We're basically trying to compare between your past self and your current self. So we do this assessment every quarter, and then we build in these tenets. And the tenets is that you're going to be honest with yourself. There are people who talk about, hey, I had a client was talking about some challenges with his family. So he's working all the time. He's bringing home the money. His spouse had the opportunity to work but doesn't work. Okay? Well, if you talk with your spouse about this, maybe they don't want to work. They want to take care of the kids, or they want to do something. This is not something we do in a vacuum. But what it turned out is that the spouse had an expectation that he would work and bring in a certain amount of money, and they would work on spending it. Now, you might not think this happens, but there are situations where there's someone out working in the field, doing the job, bringing home the bacon, and it's literally spent by the other party for whatever reason. Now, we're going to find those reasons out in a personal self-satisfaction assessment, because very often your spouse or your partner or anybody can do this assessment as well, and then you can compare results. But you've got to be honest with yourself. You might think you love a job, but you deep down inside know something ain't right. So if you're honest with yourself through this assessment, it'll get down on paper, and then we can work out an action plan to improve the situation. Next, you want to include all the stakeholders. I touched on it a little bit, but if you're rating your family on a 1 to 10 scale and you come up with a 3, anything below average, you need to be talking with your family about it. Hey, you work from home, but you're tired of interruptions from the kids. Okay, if that's impacting your satisfaction with your career, it could be impacting your satisfaction with family, because at one time you're on a conference call and your kid comes in to show you the work they've been working on, and they're excited and they're just so happy that you're able to work from home and to spend more time with them. And they come in with their drawing and you say, "Get the hell out of my office. I'm on a call." What does that do? What does that do to family satisfaction? So again, you want to speak with all stakeholders. Now, in the case of your career, when you rate out your career and you find out that you have some minimum expectations, is that you won't be called to work on the weekends, and you don't bother to communicate that with your supervisor or to the stakeholders on projects, then you're just going to set yourself up for failure. So we want to include all the stakeholders. Next, we want to look at the best 2 out of 3. Now, I got a big list here, and I just noticed the time is going to be a little tight. So if you write in with questions, I'll get you these tenets. But let me just cover one more. You want the best 2 out of 3. So I'm describing family, social, career. Is your objective to have a rating of 10 across the board? No. There are times where you're going to have to suffer in a career in order to have a better home life satisfaction. See, careers are temporary. Your family's forever. Now, you also might be in a situation where some of your family, you like them more than others. And so you're going to have to be okay with maybe a 5 to 8 in your own family, your immediate family, but you're okay and you've accepted that there's a 1 for the rest of your extended family. Maybe you got some in-laws that are a little rough on you. For social life, you may actually cut social. You may be not satisfied at all with your social life. You may have 0 social life. And your rating is 1 for social, but you know what? You're okay with that because you've got an 8 with the family. You've got an 8 with the career, and that's a really good balance. Maybe you would like to have more friends. You'd like to have more social activity with people, that group relationship that you have with a church or with a fraternity. Identifying it, being honest with yourself, identifying it, and then working on that's okay, but you want best 2 out of 3. You're not trying to get all 3 of these areas through the roof because it's not necessarily possible. You could have low expectations and you could get 10 across the board, but it doesn't usually happen that way. But that's okay. It's meant that way. So I've got probably probably 8 to 10 more tenets here. I'm going to save these for another podcast. And if you have any questions about this or anything else I cover, I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. You're going to visit www.insidestrategicrelations.com, all one word. Go to the contact page and you will ask your questions there. Let me just wrap up, though. There are 3 steps to a personal satisfaction assessment. The first is the rating from 1 to 10 of each category individually: social, family, and business. The next part is the basis. Why did you rate it that way? And you're going to describe what was working well, what you can do to improve, and then what would be ideal. So kind of almost a little future pacing there. And then finally, you're going to have the criteria in which your score would increase. And that's a T diagram that has minimum expectations and what's not acceptable. These items together, sitting down with your family, sitting down with stakeholders, is going to help you develop a plan. And these plans will have specific actions to move. You're not trying to go from a 5 to a 10. You're just simply going up 1 level. What do you got to do to level up? And what happens is we find stable and consistent ways to ratchet up your experiences, and we focus the energy on the areas that have the maximum payoff to you. For some people, maybe you're single, just starting out in your career, and you're okay with family being a 2 because you just got your parents and you're young and you're making good money. but you want your social to be much higher. You want your social to be an 8, your career to be an 8. You also don't want to be fixated on the career you have. And then again, that's why we have the criteria. But this assessment is so powerful. It is so powerful. It will unlock your vision for the future. It'll unlock some optimism for actually achieving it. And then it helps us drive down a plan. Again, I'm here to help you create and keep profitable customers and transform business relationships. Thanks for listening.